All right, so we set up our first word problem for this section, for this unit, actually. And here's what we have. Now, this is your system that if you wanted to graph it, because there's other methods to solve this system, so in a couple of weeks you may choose another method. But if we wanted to graph it, you would have to put this, both of these equations in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to erase these dollar signs because I don't want you to think that that has anything to do with changing them. For the first one, 3x needs to go to the other side. If it's a positive 3x on the left, it has to be a negative 3x on the right. So you have 5y is equal to negative 3x plus 95. And then I got to get rid of that 5. Well, you guys know what to do with that. You're going to divide everything by 5. The 5's cancel out. Your slope becomes negative 3 over 5 times x. And then if you have a calculator, you want to put negative 5 divided by 5. I believe that's 19. So this would be your equation. Your y-intercept is 19. So you would go all the way up to 19. And then your slope is negative 3 over 5. So you would go down 3 into the right 5, and that would be your line. For the second equation, this x needs to also go over to the other side. It's a positive x on the left, which means it'll be a negative x on the right. So your second equation would simply be negative x plus 25. So this is your system that you would graph. But as you can see, these are pretty large numbers to graph. So you'd have to have, if you notice, your graph paper, your grid on your notes are like teeny tiny, kind of even hard to read. So you'd have to have like a pretty large piece of graph paper to graph this system. So in a couple of days, you'll say, I'm not going to use graphing. I'll use another method that I'm going to teach you. So that's where I want to stop with example 2. For example 3, while I'm moving the video around, the monitor around, go ahead and read example 3 and see if you can already start coming up with your 2 equations and your 2 quantities. So you can kind of figure out what we're talking about here. It's very similar to example 2. So I'm going to move here. I got a little space. All right, so example 3 says your school is selling football tickets for a home game. The school sold 35 tickets for $86 on the first day. So the first day, if they're doing, ticket sales, how we do it during lunch. The first day they sold 35 tickets and made $86. The tickets, they have two types. Student tickets are $2. Non-student tickets, so that's, parents or community, they have to pay $3. So we want to know how many tickets of each they sold. So this is set up just like example 2. All right, so we'll start with our variables. If you notice, there's 2 quantities that we're talking about, student tickets and non-student tickets. So I'm going to let X be my student tickets and Y be my non-student tickets. So, like I said, if you want to flip them around and let Y be the student tickets, it really doesn't matter, okay? Now we got to come up with our 2 equations. Notice the second sentence. That's the money sentence right there. That tells us what we've got. They sold 35 tickets and made $86. If they sold a total of 35 tickets, there's only two types of tickets. So the student and the non-student total, they sold 35. So I would represent that information just like that. And then for the money, this is your money equation. If the tickets, student tickets were $2 each, non-student were $3 each, and they made $86 total, there you go. That's your system. Now here's what I'm going to do, because I don't know how many of you guys are watching this, or you're doing a couple other things, you're not paying attention. You guys have to finish this one on your own. So I'm going to write this finish on your own. So if all I see is this written down on your notes, and I see that you did not, in fact, solve for Y for both of them, I'm going to take off like 10 points, maybe more, depending on how many y'all do it and make me mad. But you all should be able to take this system and do the same thing that we did here, solve for Y, and set it up. So finish this problem on your own, setting up your equations for graphing. You don't have to graph them. And you're ready to start your homework on linear systems